Hi folks, how you all doing? Croster6 here. Hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day, evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the channel, welcome. Well, for today's gameplay, it's going to be in this pile of crud. The Caliban, this joke tank, which is the Tier 8 British heavy tank. It's the derp gun. And this thing was designed in 1962. Never ever came to fruition. There was no prototypes or anything built. And it just deemed too expensive. Oh, I wonder why. So in Wargaming's Infinite Wisdom, they decided to bring it into the game. But without further ado, let's get into the first game. I've got a couple of games for you today. The first one on Berlin. So here we go then. I'm going to talk a little bit about this tank and what my thoughts and feelings are on it and my reasoning behind it. You know, there's many different tanks in the game of welder tanks, as we all know. But just every now and again, Wargaming bring out this little pearl, this little this tank that either is great or it's just crap. And unfortunately, this thing falls into the crap category because it's crap. What's good about this tank? The only thing I can say that is reasonably good about this tank is when you do actually get a full penetration and get full damage output, it feels good. But that doesn't happen very often. The reload time on this thing absolutely sucks balls. It really does. It's garbage. Utter garbage. This thing seriously needs to be buffed or just taken out of the game because it's just garbage. It's about as much use as a chocolate teapot on a hot sunny day. It really is. This tank is just utter garbage. The aim time on this thing is just ridiculous. 4.1 seconds with a 0.58 dispersion. It's just garbage. It really is. It's got a viewing range of 370 meters, 1500 hit points. Now the hull armor to the front is 130, to the sides and the rear is 35 millimeters. The turret armor is 250 to the front, 80 to the side and 50 to the rear. So yeah, you get this thing hull down, you'd think, you know, you would be okay. It's not. The reload time on this tank is just, it's dire. What Wargaming were thinking about bringing this thing into the game is beyond me. And I've played a few games in this tank, and I've seen a few of them out on the battlefield. Not so much so these days. People have obviously played it and thought, you know, I can't master this because it's a pile of shite. And it is. It's probably, if not the worst tank in the game. Just for reliability, reload time, aim time, penetration. You don't always get full penetration unless you can get to the side or the rear of a tank. You don't generally tend to get full penetration. It's usually about 130, 140 damage output, as you've just seen there. It's really not that good. Honestly, it's not. Would I recommend you getting this tank? Absolutely not. It's just garbage. And if you've got this, what do you think of this tank? Am I just being overzealous with it and perhaps too critical? I don't think I am. I don't think I am. I've taken out, as I say, for quite a few battles, and I just can't get on with it. And there are sometimes tanks in the game that you generally tend to have fairly decent games now and again, but the rest are kind of mediocre or just utter crap. But there are some tanks that you generally tend to err on the side of caution and have better games if you play it in a certain style. You know, like your mediums, your lights and all that kind of stuff. But this thing, I can't see a place for this in the game. I can't. It's just a joke tank. You know, Klaus with the EBRs where he was talking about you know, the wheel being pumped up and all that kind of stuff. But this thing's the same. It's just utter garbage. It's a joke within the game. And convince me that I'm wrong. Convince me I'm wrong. You've got to be... A lot of the matches I've played are tier 9s, tier 10s. Most of the matches. You do get your tier 8 battles. And again, if you get something that's heavily armoured and you try to shoot them to the front, which is most of the time anyway, because you try shooting this thing at distance... and it lobs the round, it lobs the shot, and chances of hitting, now and again you might be lucky, but not very often. And this tank is just utter utter garbage. And see, when you get to the side of somebody, you do well. You do full penetration and 2 targets there. Oh, come on, Sue 101, get out the way. This is what really irritates me about some people in this game. They just park at the back end of your tank and they don't move. They can see you're about to reverse, but they don't move. They just sit there. They think, no, I'm sitting here. I got here. No, you go around me. Anyway, that's a different story. That's another video for another day. But honestly, this tank is just... I'm struggling to say anything decent about this tank at all. I can't, because... you know, the video speaks for itself, really. You know, yes, it's great when you pen and get full penetration and do full damage. Yes, that puts a smile on your face. But look at the reload time on this thing. The reload time is just horrific. It really is. It's horrific. So how can you play this tank, really? Can you play it from long distance? No, you can't, because it's not accurate enough a cannon to play from long distance. So can you play it from sort of like mid-ground? Yeah, you probably could, as long as you've got other allies around you that, you know, whilst you're in between loads, they can kind of take shots to stop the enemy advancing onto you. But as soon as this thing takes both shots, forget it. You're out of the game for at least 20 seconds, 25 seconds, and then the next one 25 seconds. So you're talking about 40 odd seconds all in total before you can get back into the game with 2 rounds in a clip. And you know, for me personally, I don't have enough patience for a tank like this, and I just think this thing is just the biggest pile of shite. I really do. And anybody that can master this tank, do you know what? Kudos to you, fair play to you, because you deserve to be good in this tank, just for having the patience to go out and play it. But anyway, let's move on with a couple of other games, and I'll show you the typical games with this tank. So here we are on Malinovka, top tier tank, tier 8 battle. The usual style is I'll make my way up to the top of the hill to try and battle it out and duke it out up there, and hopefully a few of my allies will head up there with me. And as per normal in this game, you generally tend to get people doing their own thing. They don't look at the map, which in my humble opinion generally tends to happen quite a lot. It's either that or it's a lemon train. God, I sound so down today, don't I? I've been down on the game, and I'm not. I love this game, I really do. I absolutely adore this game. It's one of the best fighting simulators out there, especially for World War II type vehicles, and I love it. I love it. So if I'm sounding down on the game, I'm not. It's just that there's a number of things that kind of come together all at the same time, don't they? That always either ends up in a win or a loss, or you having a mediocre game or you having a great game. And if people start looking at the map more and reading the map, you generally tend to find that your games dramatically improve. Well, that's what I find anyway. I mean, what about you? I don't know, but that's what I generally tend to find. But normally when you take the hill, usually that leads to winning the battle, and especially for heavies, to push up the hill and try and defend the hill and hopefully end up winning that, and then pushing down on the 0 line and eventually encircling the enemy and taking them out and winning the game. But as you can see, look, everybody's just sat on the hill there, just not moving, just all wanting to snipe. And map awareness is everything in this game. But again, this is a typical thing with this tank. Look, the aim time, 4.1 seconds. Aiming in at this tank. Aim. Wait until I've got a shot. Take a shot, it lobs it and misses. So do I take the second shot? Well, yeah, why not? I've got nothing to lose at this point. Take another shot, miss. And this is typical with this tank. So at long distance, you can't really reliably fire shots and expect to hit. Now and again, you'll hit. It's not like you'll never ever hit. You will. Now and again, you'll get that perfect shot and it'll hit, and you get full penetration, and you'll either take half the health off of the tank, or if not, one shot the tank, especially if it's a tier 7 or a tier 6 lightly armoured tank and you manage to hit it. But again, look at this reload time, still waiting and waiting and waiting. So I'm thinking, well, there's an artillery in the game, so I'm going to push to the windmill and just try and get some cover there and see what comes up. Hopefully I'll be fully reloaded by the time they get to the top of the hill. I see there's an IS-3 there, and I'm thinking, well, if he pushes towards me now, I'm done. It's game over. My second shot isn't loaded yet, and it's just, this is the problem with this tank, is you're just waiting constantly waiting for this thing to reload, and it makes you very wary of wanting to fire 2 shots. And then, as you can see, this Tornwagen and the T29, I'm going to take a shot at the T29, don't get full penetration. So now I've got 1 round in the chamber, and I'm now trying to reload for my second round. Tornwagen, he's obviously a savvy player. He pushes into me and gets a shot into me. I get shot into him, but now I'm on this such a long reload again. And you haven't got a choice. He knows that, and he's quite safely pulling out into me and getting 3 shots. IS-3 the same. And this is the problem with this tank, is it's just, the reload time is just garbage. It really is so bad. I can't recommend this tank, and this is a typical game for this tank. Anyway, on to the next one. This time we're on Mountain Pass. So, as the usual standard, they've got an artillery piece, so I'm kind of negating the bridge, because if I push the bridge, the artillery generally tend to get 3 shots at you there. So I'm kind of erring on the side of caution and think, well, I'll push to the mid and hopefully get a couple of shots at anything trying to cross over, you know, effectively to come round and flank us. And that's my usual thought process with this map. It's pointless pushing down the 0 line, because that's just suicide alley there, and whoever takes that generally can be held off from the hill. If there's anything sat on our side from the hill covering that valley, they can generally, depending on what's pushing round of course, but as you can see there, they're just going to push down and they'll end up dying, as happens all the time. And again, it's map awareness, isn't it? It's always map awareness with this game. If you've got good map awareness, you generally tend to have a better game, or you seem to last a bit longer, and you can't save the rest for your team because you can't control the rest of your team. And as you'll see in some of the comments, one of our team members gets a little bit upset with the team because of it, and I can't say as I blame him. You know, it's one of them things, isn't it? It's just, that's just the pub matches in World of Tanks. So I got a couple of shots into that Black Prince, and now I'm on a reload again. Just, you spend 95% of your time in this tank just reloading, waiting for that reload, whereas, you know, if the reload on this thing was a bit quicker, you'd feel like you were more part of the game. You'd feel like you were actually serving a purpose in the game, and I think that's the crux of it for me with this tank, is once you emptied your 2 rounds into something, that's providing you hit and get full penetration, or you might just get little bits of damage. You then sat out, you're out of the game. There's nothing else that you can do. You know, you kind of just sat there twiddling your thumbs. Now, I remember a long time ago, Des Games brought a video out with the T95, where he would basically start off, and it was one of his fun videos, and he'd go off and make something to drink, a hot drink, and he'd be eating biscuits, and by the time he got back to his chair, the T95 was just about to get into position from the start of the match. And that's what this tank feels like on the reload side. It's exactly the same. You fire your 2 rounds and you're constantly waiting. And if you've got tanks right in front of you that are coming at you, you don't stand a cat and mouse chance, because as soon as you empty them 2 rounds into that tank and just hope and pray, fingers crossed, that you're going to get full penetration to try and make them back off. But any savvy player who knows that after you fired your second shot, it's a freebie. He's going to get free damage off of you, because it takes you forever to reload, as you are about to see here. And so I can see that they're pushing up down on the valley to try and come round and flank us. Again, team not paying attention to what's going on. They suicided all the way down there on the 9 line. So I'm thinking, well, I'm going to help this E75 and try and hold this side of the map, if you like. T95, you know, again, heavily armoured to the front, so, you know, I'm just trying to aim for his weak spots, his cupola. Managed to do a little bit of damage to him, but there's 3 tanks here. There's an IS-3, the Defender, and the T-95. And this is the problem with this tank, you know, look at me, reloading. And this is the big issue with this tank. Now, if Wargaming would look at this tank and think, yeah, we've perhaps got this a little bit wrong. We need to buff the reload time on this, and we also need to, you know, buff the dispersion on it, because it's just garbage. The aim time is just pathetic. And again, with regards to the aim time, the bloom on the reticule, You know, if you've got a tank that takes 4.1 seconds to aim in such a long reload time, if you're in close quarter fighting, you want to just get out, take your shot and get back in. You can't do it with the distance. I mean, look at this little light tank, and he's playing a blinder here, so you know, kudos to this guy, because he's just pulled out, and he knows I'm reloading, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it. And there you are, I'm dead. Just a typical game in this tank. So overall, would I recommend this tank? I think you can probably guess by now it's an absolute no-no. I think this tank should either be removed from the game or seriously buffed. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you all in the next one. So take care, have a wonderful day, see ya, bye bye.